Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on renewable energy, part of the innovation series here at Mercury Securities. Thanks for taking time out of your lunch. I know it's a busy week. Chinese New Year is coming up. It's great to see a lot of familiar names here in the chat and a lot of new names. Excited for everyone to be here. Welcome to all. I'm Jameson, Operations Manager here at Mercury KL, and I'm excited to have such distinguished speakers here for the first webinar in the innovation series of events. The purpose of this series is to introduce, through live events or webinars, innovative leaders and businesses directly to investors to explain how their industries and businesses are changing the status quo and why it's important for you as investors to know about them. If you find these interesting or if you want to know about future ones, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or our mailing list at our corporate website. You can see all the links below to find out when these are happening. Of course, Mercury Securities customers will have special access to these resources and events, so contact us to find out more on the benefits of being a customer. Okay, with all that out of the way, I'll be happy to introduce today's agenda and speakers. As a signatory of COP, or the Conference of Parties, Malaysia has pledged to reduce its greenhouse gas emission intensity by 45% by 2030, just 7 short years away. There's no way we get there without significant expansion of renewable energy, which makes today's speakers and discussion very relevant. In terms of timing, we'll start with a presentation from the Sunview CEO, Mr. Ong Hang Ping, followed by a Q&A, which will go roughly until about 1:40. At that point, Jentayu Sustainable CEO, Mr. Jeffrey Muhammad Yusuf, and CIO, Mr. Muhammad Riaz Muhammad Zamirdin, will present, again followed by your questions. We hope to wrap up at about 2:15 and let you all get back before the market reopens. Okay, with that said, let me introduce our first company, Sunview Group Berhad. Sunview is principally involved in the provision of engineering, procurement, construction, and commissioning, also known as EPCC, of solar photovoltaic (PV) facilities for industrial, commercial, and residential buildings, solar PV and installation services, solar power generation and supply, as well as associated products and services. Established since 2013, Sunview has grown exponentially and was listed on ACE on 17th October 2022. To represent Sunview, we're thrilled to have the CEO and Executive Director of the group, Mr. Ong Hang Ping, with us today to share his insights on the solar industry and Sunview's business model. Mr. Ong has an engineering degree from the University of Malaya and is a certified member of the Board of Engineers Malaysia. In addition, he is accredited by the Institute for Sustainable Power Quality for design and installation of grid-connected PV and is a grid-connected photovoltaic certificate holder. With 13 years of experience in the renewable energy sector, Mr. Ong is responsible for driving the future direction of Sunview Group and expanding renewable energy in Malaysia. Now, can you all please welcome Mr. Ong to this webinar? Thank you.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, by the way, good afternoon. I'm Ong here from Sunview Group Berhad. So I'm the CEO of the companies. Okay, so in this table content, I'll more to actually go through the 5 topics, but because due to the time limitations, so I will just give some summary to you all so that you're having quite a clear picture about the entire renewable energy. And then I will actually go through top to down, means that I'll go through the global market, then slowly go to the regional, and then we go to Malaysia. Okay, so these are the entire things. All right, so shall we start from topic 1, which is the global RE industry outlooks. Okay, so by looking on the global market, actually renewable energy is keeping what I call growing really fast from double digit onwards. Okay, so as you can see, start from 2015 up to 2027, which is also the expected estimated for the years coming years. So you can see actually the light green colors on the renewable energy side is actually growth increase from what they call 28 to 38.1%. So this is based on the International Energy Agency data. And then by looking on the layman terms, if let's say you're aware about all these renewable energy markets, you can see actually a lot of news research, or either some of you already experienced when you're traveling to overseas, you can see actually all these renewable energy markets in globally, they're actually shooting up quite fast in a double digit of this kind of like increments. Okay, so detailing into those market that more related to us, like nearby neighboring hood. So we go to this next slide, which is Okay, this one is for European. Then later on, I will show you the Southeast Asia side. So as you can see from the European side, so the growth from the orange color for the Europe is actually achieving what they want for the adoptions on this. So I will explain more because on this is quite informative for you all just to understand that actually globally how the RE growth looks like and also Europe looks like. Why we look at the Europe is because all the while Europe is actually having the pioneer in terms of renewable energy adoptions. So they already run through many years. While later I will string down into Malaysia market, which is I would say that Malaysia market started to boom actually the past 5 years only. So way before that, it's actually, yes, we're starting to adopt it and create a lot of awareness and collaborate with a lot of authority and governments to push that kind of like renewable energy markets. Okay, so next slide. As you can see, the Southeast Asia trend is also picking up very fast. Okay, which is you can see for the yellow color. This is actually the chart to show that start from 2018 up to 2050. The solar PV utility adoptions is starting to picking up a lot exponentially. Okay, so as you can see, some of the data, right? The RE, some of the data for the RE that did not include hydro projects. Okay, they may not include the different. So it's actually based on different data. So, but because my topic is actually more to the solar, so I will more focus into the solar data only. Okay, so just for information, so this one is actually on the Southeast Asia, the growth even more faster compared to the European markets. Okay, so next one, I'll string down into more to Malaysia and also our regional country comparison on the policy, because all this will give you a summary that actually how actually the market in Malaysia to perform in the next 5 to 10 years. So everyone or every country, they're actually having their own policy to help to achieve our so-called net zero carbon. So for your information, last month, December, I call it last year, by the way. So Bursa already just started to launch the voluntary carbon market. Okay, so what is this about? Voluntary carbon market is actually the platform, okay, a platform for seller and buyer to actually trade their carbon credit. So in details, maybe I may not expand those details into here because carbon credit, it might involve scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. There's a lot of technical information inside the carbon credit. So as you can see, when Bursa is announcing for this launching of this VCM, and the first auction for the buyer and seller is actually fall under this year, March. So after that, you'll be more into the free trade flow to all the public markets. So that's why when they have this kind of launching on the VCM, it means end of the day, governments will need to be more aggressive in terms of pushing the renewable energy. So this is the regional country policy that I will share with you. Definitely, Malaysia, we do have the MyRER 2035. Okay, so what we want to achieve is actually we want to achieve 31% the RE installation capacity by the near future, which is year 2025. So there's another 2 more years already. Okay, and then we want to achieve 40% by 2035. There's a big market into that. And you can see the Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, and Singapore, all of them having their own energy roadmap, which they also want to achieve by a certain percentage, which is quite similar to Malaysia, for example, like Vietnam 45%, and then Thailand to 3%. And then there's another country, or either way, we can call it quite a few countries. They want to achieve net carbon zero by year 2050. Okay, and also some of our MNC company in Malaysia or others listed company in Malaysia, they also start to announce their initiative and how aggressive they are in terms of adopting this kind of renewable energy so that they can achieve the net carbon zero by year 2050. And then recently, our government also announcing the kind of like policy, for example, increase the quota for the green energy tariff, okay, which is 6,600, what I call this gigawatt hour, to actually for those factory or company that actually having high consumption of energy, especially those under category E1, E2, that kind of TMB tariff category, they might need to buy this kind of green energy tariff in order to offset their normal traditional energy generation resources, so that they can actually claim themselves in terms of like using green energy and moving forward into the ESG policy. So this is many policy that actually our governments is trying to push so that we can achieve our RE target in the near future. All right, so we go to the next slide. Okay, so what is actually the RE100? Because that's how we talk about the globals, then we go to Europe, go to regional country, go to Malaysia, and all this policy, and how our government is actually providing what kind of policy in order to boost the entire renewable energy market. And now this is the another things that internationally they're trying to take out this kind of initiative, okay, to achieve net carbon zero. RE100 is actually the global initiative, okay. It can actually, it's open up to everyone, okay, who can actually achieve 100% net carbon zero. Means like 100% of electricity consumptions by renewable electricity. Okay, so this is the thing. As you can see, there's a lot of big brands that you know is actually involved into and also participating into this RE100 scheme. So maybe one day, all of you also maybe participate into this in order to achieve net carbon zero in this 2050. All right. Okay, so now we go into Malaysia and talk more detailings and talk about more what they call those closer to us. Okay, so in this MYRER policies, okay, so they did mention that actually our total RE capacity, what we wanted to achieve up to 2035 for the 40% of the capacity is around 17.9, okay, 17.9 gigawatts, okay, which is really a huge market, okay. So you can try to multiply. For example, I give you some example for based on the megawatt, how much. Let's say I'm using solar as the example. So let's say we use a rule of thumb. 1 megawatt is around maybe 2.6 millions. Then you can multiply by this kind of megawatts volume. Then you know that actually how much is the GDP is. Okay, so this is how big the market is. Okay, so next one, I'll explain. Actually, in these frameworks, there is 4 different pillars that what our energy plan that emphasize in. First one, definitely they emphasize into more to solar, and then second one is more to the bioenergy, and the third one is hydro, and then the last pillar is actually the new solution and resources. So when I talk about solar, they're trying to accelerate the rooftop PV deployment, or either roll out a lot of different policy. For example, the large-scale solar for the previous LSS 1, 2, 3, 4, and until now, there's new policy for the large-scale solar. We call it virtual power plants. They're coming out. So this kind of policy is actually to drive the entire renewable energy market into the new next level. Okay, and then why end of the day this what they call solar become the first one that actually government want to push on is because the raw material is free. Our raw material is actually come from sunlight. So long there is the sun, there is a power. Okay, so this is why it become the first pillar, the first priorities in order to push up the entire RE markets. Okay, so definitely there's certain initiative that enabling the entire specific pillar, which is like leverage the future provings. Okay, improve the access to financing. As you can see, recently there's a lot of commercial banks that started to launch or either started to take a lot of initiative in order to push the renewable energy. So by actually providing a very good interest financings, and even though nowadays what they call certain commercial banks is already tidying up with Bursa, become their banker support to all the listed company, because end of the day there is a must to actually put the ESG policy element into the annual reports. So they will need to who else actually having this kind of initiative? Then the bank that actually tie out with Bursa one, they can provide the kind of good financing. So if you say you can achieve a certain rating of the ESG in Bursa, then end of the day, the financing that you get from commercial banks will have much more attractive. So this is a lot of kind of attractive incentive and also encouragements from our governments in order to push the entire renewable energy markets. So as you can see, in total Malaysia, we have much of the capacity potential markets. Okay, so by looking on the solar itself, we do have 269 gigawatts potential market. Okay, so means like based on the report, actually in Peninsula, Sabah, Sarawak, there's a lot of space, a lot of buildings, a lot of those areas, place that actually suitable for solar, which is 269. Okay, so for the solar itself by regional, so we can see that actually it consists of the floating solar, because solar you not necessarily can build on rooftop, but I can do it on the ground, or either you do it on the lake, reservoir, or whatever's water body. So we call it the floating solar. So you can see the dark blue colors in Peninsula, we can have almost 95 gigawatt potential market, while in Sabah is 97. This is called ground mounted. Okay, ground mounted. And then floating solar is a orange color one, which is Sarawak having a much potential market in terms of floatings, 11.3, while Peninsula got 5.2 gigawatts. So this is all the things, but definitely in terms of like green purposes, then we were actually more emphasized into installing for rooftop solar. It's because of why? Because we actually utilize those unutilized place. So rooftop anyhow, you can't do anything. So by utilize the unused space into the green energy, then we can have even more green. While by installing for ground mounted, yes, you need a big space, okay, to installing for solar farm. But any single route map, in order to achieve the entire route map of the renewable energy, different stages or different type of policy we need to go through first. So there's no there's always a pros and cons for every single policy on the roadmap. Right? In Malaysia, so just now I also emphasized got a few incentives. So this is more to the list down of the incentive that actually governments all the while giving, like the net energy meterings, self-consumption, which is actually installed already, then for your own consumptions and whatever things. So this is the policy that at the end of the day you can install for your own consumptions. Okay, then introduce a new model. Introduce the new business models like what they call this LSS, P2P, and current one there is a virtual power plant which is already in the market and going to submit all the tender by February. And also last time there is a pilot in terms of like peer-to-peer energy trading. So this is all the potential policy that started to kicking in to the market in order to boost the entire renewable energy. Renewable energy certificate, there's a RECs tradings already happen in the market. Means like the company that actually having a lot of carbon dioxide, what they call emission company, they can actually buy the REC in order to offset, okay, in order to offset their energy. So this is called REC. It's already trade in the market at this moment. Okay, and then after that, there's a lot of large-scale solar auctions and whatever policy that I mentioned just now, also end of the day, like the carbon credits tradings. So these are all the things that actually already happen in the markets. Okay, but I just want to share with you the summary and also the potential market and how is the next 5 years market for renewable energy companies and also for the entire renewable energy market in Malaysia. How does it looks like and how does it performs? Okay, so next one. All right, so we go for the last topic, which is just some summary about ourselves. Okay, so this is more detailings about each pillar business that what we do. Like for the first one, what does it mean by ManCon? What is EPCC? So EPCC is actually engineering, procurement, construction, commissioning. That means we started to do all the consultancy, plannings, engineerings. Then we start to do the buy materials, construction for the electrical, civil, earthwork, everything, and up to commissionings. So but at this moment, we have our unbilled book order up to 765 millions. So this year we are actually focusing in terms of deliverings and also execution for that 700 millions of unbilled book orders. Okay, next one. So the second pillar, which is our subcontracting works, that means we are doing some installation works for the electricals or either the mechanical works. So in terms of this category, actually we already completed 20-something projects with around 38 millions based on this category. So, but our main category anyhow is still fall under main contractors. And from time to time, we will need to push up our last pillar, which is the asset ownership. So we are doing quite aggressively in terms of like investing into the solar plant, no matter it's on rooftop or either on ground mounted or the water body, that's all our target. All right, next one. So associated services and product, this pillar is considered a small portions contribution to our revenues because it consists of quite little small work scope, which is the consulting engineering services. And even though somehow we do certain tradings in terms of like trade for the complement products. Okay, next one, please. So this is solar generation. The plant that we own is almost active plant throughout the entire Peninsular Malaysia. So this is all the plant facility that we have at this moment. And this plant can actually contribute to our company recurring income. Okay, so because our philosophy in our company Sunview, the philosophy end of the day, we not only want it to be the main contractor for the EPC, but at the same time we want to own the asset. Is because we want to maintain, we have a recurring income throughout, okay, sustainable for many years, while we do have the EPC, this main contractors business for us to grow. So we have a steady income, we have a recurring income, but at the same time we have a growth in our business model. All right, the next one, investment highlight. So it's more to actually the more unique starting point about ourselves. We have done many rooftop projects, and also we have done a lot of large-scale solar from LSS1 until now LSS4. So that's our proven track records in terms of all the solar projects. And then, because due to our past experience, we have vast technical and management team actually experienced into this. So we actually having that kind of team to help to provide a very optimized design, because all the while we actually coming from the subcontracting background. So after when this Asia Green Tech Fund, or either we call it a MEFCAP, which is under the Ministry of Finance, that join into our company, become a significant shareholder, then they bring us into the next level. So that's why we convert and ourselves from subcontractor into the main contractor role, and also involved in all this asset ownership investment. So this is how we transform ourselves from the entire past few years. Okay, and we do provide investment not only for ourselves, we do provide investment actually from our investor to our client by using that kind of like zero capex schemes. That means we install all the solar for all the rooftop or either solar farm without client come out single cent. Okay, then we can actually sell the electricity back to the owner, and then we collect by monthly basis. All right, and then because due to our business model, and it will actually supplemented by our concessionaire and also by our experienced team, so that our company philosophy can be achieved by growth with the EPC businesses, and at the same time we have the asset ownership to maintain our sustainable income. So this is the investment highlight for our company. All right.
Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Hong. That was very interesting. I always think as a country on the equator, one of our great natural resources is solar. And like you said, there's a potential of 269 gigawatts, of which we've only built up 18. It's a huge potential. Okay, let's go into the Q&A. So the first one from an anonymous attendee, he asks, how does the turmoil in China affect raw material costs, especially solar panels?
Okay, so yeah, this is always the question when I was in whatever seminar, right? Yeah, and okay, for information, yes, in solar markets, our big raw material is coming from solar panel. So during the pandemics, solar panels is actually shooting up very exponentially, hiking in terms of the price. Okay, so especially the silicon. Okay, so but recently the raw material is slowing down. Okay, the current scenario from the raw materials compared to the highest price, they already dropped almost 20%. Okay, so this is already started to slow down in terms of the raw material hike. Yeah, so this is what I can share with you on this. And then another things for us to how to mitigate that kind of things, because we also gone through the high price of the raw materials. So we actually, because as you can see, our unbilled book orders, we have quite a huge number of the book order with almost 700 something million. So we have that kind of buy bulk power with our supplier, and we are not only rely on single suppliers. We have multiple suppliers that actually come together with us, and we have that buy bulk power to actually negotiate the pricing with them. So this is one of it. And secondly, we also sometimes trade in terms of the currency by renminbi. We not necessarily trade it by US dollar, but we trade it in renminbi. But then when to trade in renminbi, when to trade in US dollar, we have our finance team to actually calculate and analyze it. So somehow certain project we trade in renminbi in order to mitigate this kind of raw material hike, because the differentiation can be in 2 to 3% difference. So for big projects, the 2 to 3% is affecting a lot of profit margins. Yeah.
Maybe just to add on to the answer, the lower raw material prices will benefit this existing order book going forward.
We have another question here from Jialing. Hi, how does Sunview differentiate yourself from other competitors in the solar industry? I guess she means in Malaysia.
Okay. At this moment, we do have 4 listco actually in this industry. Okay, including Sunview is around 4, which is from SolarWest, Maiden, Pekat, and then up to our turn, Sunview. So I would say that for us, in terms of solar side, we are actually more or less the similar things, but we have different side of view. Because, for example, SolarWest, when they lease the time, is actually leased as an EPC, and then Samaiden lease the time is actually leased as an EPC plus the bio industry, while Pekat lease the time is actually leased as a EPC and lightning, okay, lightning protections systems. Then while Sunview is actually leased ourselves, positioning as EPC and also the asset ownership. So this is the differentiation between 4 company of us. And then in terms of solar side, for us having our own what I call the strength and also itself. But from our side, this is the 4 main investment highlight that I can share with you, which is because we had did quite a lot of rooftop and also the solar farm projects. Okay, so we have a lot of the kind of track records, and also the main forte from our side is actually how we optimize the entire system cost and also design to our client. This is how it transformed and it actually what I call imply on our book order. So how we can secure that kind of book order is because we actually come from the subcontracting company. So after that, we actually transform ourselves into the main contractors. So we have a lot of experience in terms of groundwork. So we're very good in terms of the cost and design optimizations.
Currently, the group does not have a dividend policy. Do you plan to set up a dividend policy in the future?
Okay, currently we do not have the dividend policies due to because we are in the growing stage. And you can see with all these book orders, so we hope to have all that fund to actually carry out and expand the company business first. But in the future, yes, we are actually planning to have that in the future, in the near future soon.
Between LSS1 Large Scale Solar 1 and Large Scale Solar 4, can you talk about the difference in margins between these projects?
Okay, I can't compare this LSS1 and LSS4 margin is because LSS1, we are actually involving in terms of like subcontractings, while LSS4, we are actually getting the main contractings. So both is actually having a different business model in our business pillar also. So it's actually 2 different things. And then, and we can't compare actually each business pillars, the profit margin is because every single projects, they're having different site conditions. Okay, and there's a lot of different factors that might affect what I call the entire pricing. But in summaries, due to the currency, okay, the currency currently, our currency ringgit to US dollar become better. and then the raw material slow down. So I would say that this one is actually really helpful and benefited to us in terms of margin.
Talk a little bit about the cost benefit for a homeowner who's interested in installing home solar panels or
You
a
mean
business.
cost
How would
effective
they make
or-
that judgment? Yeah, like what would be the kind of criteria for them to install panels at home or on their building if they own it commercially?
Okay. There's a policy for residential. We call it what they call the net energy metering. Okay, we call it for NEM rakyat, that kind of scheme. So this one is actually you can actually install, and then you can help to reduce your energy a lot. For example, but there is a certain limitation in terms of technicality, and also what they call the limitation from the TMB side and also the SEDA side. Because for residential, you only can install up to 12 or 13 kilowatt peak system. That means end of the day, this kind of maximum system can help to reduce the residential's energy by around approximately 700 ringgit per month. So let's say today you having a big house, having a huge consumption of electricity, but end of the day, you can't install that much of the system size because there's a certain limitation of the system size for residential. So at most, you can reduce for the residential system is approximately up to 700 ringgit reductions per month.
Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Ong. I think everyone really learned a lot today, especially
Yep, thank you so
I always
much.
wonder
Please.
why solar is not bigger here.
Yep,
Thank you
please
so
feel free
much. I hope we
to
get to speak to
email
you
us
again
or
soon.
ask any questions. Yeah.
So thank you again for Mr. Ong. I'd like to now introduce our second set of speakers, Mr. Jeffrey Muhammad Yusuf and Mr. Muhammad Riaz Muhammad Zamirdin, the CEO and CIO of Jentayu Sustainables. Mr. Jeffrey has had experience across finance, healthcare, and business development roles. And among many other positions, he has served as Director of Institutional Broking at Kenanga, incorporated Malaysia's first healthcare management company, HMO Pacific, and set up and managed 2 private hospitals before joining Jentayu Sustainables as CEO. His combination of entrepreneurial and capital markets knowledge is the engine that powers this disruptive company. Mr. Muhammad Riaz, Jentayu CIO, has over 26 years of experience in corporate advisory and equities. Mr. Riaz has served as Associate Director at Maybank Investment Bank and VP at CIMB Investment Bank. Before Jentayu, Mr. Riaz was at Maybank as their co-head of mid-market solutions. As CIO, his background in investment banking and business development drives Jentayu's expansion of their asset base by identifying and managing potential investment initiatives. Now, if you'd all like to join me in welcoming Mr. Jeffrey Muhammad Yusuf and Mr. Muhammad Riaz.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mercury, for arranging. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeffrey. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Jentayu Sustainables. Since Mr. Wee just now has done a very good job in covering the industry prospect, I'm not going to repeat that. I agree with everything that he said. So thank you very much, Mr. Wee. So I will start off by telling you who we are. Okay. As a background, our group, we started off as a private company, Jentayu Capital, where on our own we developed one solar plant in Kedah and a hydro power plant in Sabah, a 40 megawatt run-of-river hydro plant in Sabah. We've decided that we want to expand, and about just over 2 years ago, our group took over the listed company at that time known as Ibmuda Berhad, with a traditionally building material supplier. So we came in, I myself and our team came on board in 2020 with the objective of number one, to focus on renewable energy by injecting the assets that we have developed privately into Jentayu Sustainables, and to move on to grow and develop further assets from the Lisco company itself. So our team is made up of, number one is our executive chairman, Dato' Haji Barros. He has many years of experience in renewable energy from the days of his working in America all the way until now. I think you can read his background there and in our website. Then there's myself as a CEO. We have Encik Bevin Raj, another expert in power and ESG. He is an advisor to the Malaysian government for many years in designing energy policy and stuff like that. We also have Encik Halim Jantan, who is a power and risk expert. Encik Halim Jantan sits on many committees under Bank Negara, especially when involved to insurance and risk. We also have Dato' Amiruddin Sata, who is the current Director General of FELDA, who is also an expert in healthcare. He was a former CEO of KPJ Group for many years as part of our team. And finally, we also have Ms. Pamela Kung, who is a senior partner in Shen Delamore. So the six of us form the board of directors for Jentayu Sustainable. So when we came over, we needed to bring in our management team. Our management team is made up of very experienced people in renewable energy. We have, of course, our executive chairman, Dato' Haji Barros, and myself there. Our CFO is Puan Nur Erni. She is a very experienced CFO who has served with Bank Negara, UITM Holding, and stuff like that. Our Chief Operating Officer, who head our energy division, is Dato' Khairil. Dato' Khairil is a former CEO of UITM Energy before joining us. We also have our Chief Strategy and Sustainability Officer, Encik Satya. Encik Satya is a former CEO of one of the subsidiaries of Telecom before coming to join us. We have our Chief Corporate Officer, Datin Nur Afdalina. She's very experienced in corporate and management. She was formerly a Deputy CEO of Khazanah Sabah. And our latest addition is Encik Riaz himself, next to me now. He just joined us about less than about a month ago from Maybank Investment. Where he headed the mid-market solution. Okay, so we have solar plant in Kedah, yes. We have rooftop solar, yes. But our focus is really on hydro. We are through and through a hydro player. The assets that we are injecting into this company is a Telecosang Hydro. Oh, but before I go on and talk about the details of the asset, maybe I should clarify, because when people talk about renewable energy, people talk about megawatt. There's a difference between megawatt of hydro and megawatt of solar. You see, because solar can produce maybe max of 4 hours of power in a day, whereas hydro, especially the type of hydro that we develop, which is run-of-river, it runs 24 hours a day. So 1 megawatt of hydro is equivalent to almost 6 megawatt of solar. So therefore, the asset that we have already developed and is ready now, it is 40 megawatt. That's Telecosang Hydro, if you see on the screen. 40 megawatt is equivalent to about 220 megawatt of solar, typically. That we already have ready. It is now, it has achieved its IOD, and COD should come in a matter of maybe end of this month. Yeah, end of this month, we should COD Telecosang Hydro. After COD, COD is a commercial operation date. So which means that it's running is producing electricity and is supplying to the grid. We're going to inject that. Now we are getting the SC's approval for the injection. So that Telecosang Hydro will be injected into Jentayu Sustainable to be our core base asset. Of course, we have Jentayu Solar, I mentioned to you just now, that will come together with Telecosang Hydro to become the first assets into Jentayu Sustainable. But at the same time, we also have won the award from Sabah State Government and later on endorsed by the Federal Cabinet to develop exactly the same asset as Telecosang Hydro that we have already successfully developed, but this is just over 4 times bigger. It's 170 megawatt in Sabah as well. 170 megawatt of hydro is pretty much equivalent to about 1,000 megawatt of solar, or about the size of the entire LSS4 capacity. So this 170 megawatt of project that we are developing is capable to power up half of all houses in Sabah. 50%. Sabah has got about over 3 million population. This plant alone is capable to power up to half of all their houses. The expected project cost for this is 2.7 billion. We have received pretty much all of the approvals. We are now negotiating the tariff, and we should be signing the power purchase agreement very soon after. We expect to start construction beginning of year 2024. Jentayu Sustainable is a very new company. Well, it's a very old company. We just took over 2 years ago, and we have changed the direction from being building material supplier into a focused renewable energy company. Other than that, we have, of course, we still have our old trading division, and we have our healthcare. But I'm not going to talk about trading and healthcare, because the Jentayu Sustainable is the one that we see ourselves to be in the future will be our renewable energy division. We started off in Sabah because obviously, for obvious reason. Number one, Sabah is very short of power. There are many diesel and gas plants that needs to be retired, and we think renewable and the cost of energy production in Sabah is so much higher than it is in Semenanjung. So renewable energy will provide them with more reliable power at much lower rate. So that's why we're focusing in Sabah, and we've received very good support from the state government because we have common objective. Secondly, is geography reason. Sabah has got a number of very good rivers that is capable to generate the kind of power that we're talking about. You see the project that we're looking at, 170 megawatt that we're developing now. There is no way we can achieve that kind of capacity in Semenanjung. Okay, these are the summaries of the assets that we already have. Just now, when I mentioned Telecosang, that's an asset that we have developed privately that we are injecting into JSB now. It has a plant capacity of 40 megawatt. And our total revenue for the year per year from this asset is about 65 million, with EBITDA of about 55 million ringgit per year. These are some of the pictures. If you can see the run-of-river asset that is we are developing. This is actually, this picture is Telecosang, so it's already. This is our solar. We have only about 6 megawatt of solar plant. This is under LSS2. Annual revenue is just shy of 5 million, but we have very good tariff. This is our tariff here is about 39 cents. So these are the early days. So we are not so interested in the later days LSS program because of we think hydro offers a much better tariff. And the plant that we are currently developing, it has 170 megawatt. We nickname it as Oriole, Project Oriole. It's 170 megawatt with given the tariff that we are negotiating now of about 31 cents, maybe 31.5 cents. The revenue per year from this asset is about 300 million, and with the EBITDA of just under 250 million a year. Okay, these are some of the pictures of what we have now in Oriole. We have already completed the construction of access road. The total this access road that we have constructed is about 90 kilometers. 90. It's a huge project. From top to bottom, it's about 25 kilometers. So it is not small. So this is what we are focusing on now. Okay, maybe the rest I will pass on to Encik Arias to talk about.
So I think our CEO has mentioned to you in detail what we do and where our focus areas are. We are very excited about Project Oriole. We've just received word that the new government has endorsed the project. Of course, there has been a lot of questions with the change in government. Will this project still be supported and all that, right? So I think what is good for the investment fraternity to understand is that, you know, as costs go up, as prices go up and all that, you know, there is a need for the government to re-examine the budget. That's why we hear a lot of mention about targeted subsidies and all that, right? As what Jeff has pointed out, you know, the cost of producing power today is pre-Ukraine war is about 57 cents, and with the escalation in prices after the war, the government loses a lot more through government subsidies. You know, if we produce power at about close to 1 ringgit, right, and guys like us produce at, that's what Jeff said, 31.5 cents. You know, there's a lot of savings for the government, and that's why, you know, even with the new government, RE initiatives will continue to be supported, and that's where we are. You know, we, unlike Sunview, we deal predominantly with the government as counterparty. This is very opportunistic to Sabah. Sabah is a very hilly country. With a lot of hills, you have a lot of water catchment, right? With a lot of water catchment, there's a lot of opportunities. That's why, as what Jeff has mentioned, this opportunity we see a lot in Sabah as we do in the other areas in Peninsular Malaysia. So in order to reward our customers, right? I mean, these projects typically take 3.5 years to complete, right? And then investors will ask, you know, while waiting for the 3.5 years before we reach our 250 million EBITDA, what is in it for us, right? What do our current investors enjoy, and how do we reward them owning JSB shares? And for that, within these 3 years, JSB will play the part in some of the construction. Right, we look to play a part in the civil works and material supply, somewhere in the region of 450 to 500 million. We will act as a project management consultant to be very close to the timelines, make sure timelines are all in progress, everything is delivered according to the target dates and all that. So we are there are revenues for that as well, and of course, you know, a project of this size, there are development profits of about 5% we can recognize. So in looking at post completion on your right side, Oriole should on its own should generate a revenue of 300 million with an EBITDA of 220 million. On top of that, there's also operation and maintenance that we will be undertaking. That you know, the revenue of that with very high margins should be somewhere in the region of 15 million. You know, we are very focused in renewable energy. We have currently 40 megawatt plus the other 6 megawatt of solar coming into the company by year end. And we are, you know, Oriole in itself is 170. Hydropower alone identified, we are at 210 megawatts. On top of that, the energy team is also cultivating ideas on solar and battery to the tune of 81 megawatts. That's currently being worked on at the moment. Solar roof initiatives currently is about 9 megawatts. So, you know, we do have a target to be at 350 megawatt within 5 years' time. So the team is fully focused to achieve this target. Everybody's working hard, and we hope that, you know, with continued investor support, we can make it a dream come true.
Can you describe a little bit about the difference between the tariffs for hydroelectric power and solar?
Tariff is tariff. 1 kilowatt supply to the grid is 1 kilowatt supply to the grid. But this is how I read. The barrier to entry to hydro projects is a lot higher than to a solar plant. You see, a solar plant under LSS program, you bid and you win, and you know, maybe within 12 months, you know, the plant will be ready and is planning. For hydro, it's a lot of work that needs to be done before we even start construction. In our case, we received the approval from the Sabah state government in September last year. Before we can even start, we have to obtain the federal approval. Before we get the federal approval, there's a series of tests and reports and everything, including hydrology reports, soil investigation, everything. That typically takes about 1.5 years. So we have completed all those. We have received the federal approvals. Yeah. So and before we even start the construction, we budgeted about 100 million ringgit of pre-construction expenses. And this is very heavy commitment. Unless you really know what you're doing, I think you know, hydro is not you know, for everybody. So therefore, because of that, the rate or the tariff accorded to hydro power plant are generally much higher than a solar plant. Like in the last LSS4, I think the winning bids were anything between 18 cents per kilowatt to maybe just over 20. Whereas for ourselves, we are now negotiating the final stage of negotiation. We are looking in the region of about 31 cents.
Does the group have plans to integrate with the public energy distribution system?
We supply to the grid managed by TNB, and in our case for Sabah is Sabah Electric. So we supply, we produce and we supply. We don't get involved with the distribution. Distribution is still you know, managed by TNB in Peninsula and Sabah Electric in Sabah.
Apart from Project Oriole, will Jentayu be looking to build and operate more hydro plants in the East? Like, wow, you guys are just starting this one and they want to know the next plans already. See, this is investors, Mr. J.
Yeah, let me just share. You know, just now, if you go through the previous presentation just now, you know, the opportunity for and demand for renewable energy is tremendous. And in Sabah in particular, there are many other projects that we can develop. However, as you can see, we have to be very careful in not overextending ourselves. We are currently undertaking a 2.7 billion ringgit project. So we have to focus our energy and our resources to make sure that we do a good job. You see, if you look at the project that we have in hand, you know, with a revenue of about 300 million from Oriole, 65 million from Telecosang, we have a total revenue of about 370 million. EBITDA is about 300 million, and I'm sure the profit will be, you know, significant. But if you look at our market capitalization today, we are only 250 million market cap company. Why? It is because deliverables is more important. I think the investor and also as well as us, we want to make sure that we deliver a good job rather than overextend ourselves. So we have proven to ourselves that we have managed to complete Telecosang Hydro. That is already in our book. So now we have to focus our energy and resources to make sure we do a very good job developing Oriole. Once we've achieved our financial close and we start construction beginning of next year, yes, there will be, you know, a number of other projects that we'll undertake.
How do you foresee renewable energy being integrated in urbanized cities, given the constraints on space?
Well, as what the other panelists, Sunview has correctly mentioned, you know, capitalizing on renewable energy, you've got to be very strategic about it. When it comes to urban areas, there is only the rooftop solar opportunities. Those are the low-hanging fruits. Then you have the government virtual PPAs, right? That allows you to set a solar farm somewhere up north and then supply it to a particular building in KL, for example. So those are the initiatives that the government has come up with. I think that will be the way for RE to be integrated in the cities.
Is there a need to continuously invest in new technology in order to improve the efficiency of power plants or your power facilities in any case, hydro and solar?
I think for us, you know, if you look at the cost breakdown, right, for Project Oriole, it's what percent from M&E?
M&E is only about less than 20%.
Yeah,
it's about 15%.
Yeah, M&E turbine, the engine, the brains consists about 15% of total cost. The rest of the cost is the concrete work, earthwork, and all that, right? And one thing I think we have to stress is very important is this: that the structures we build, you know, even though they are for 21 years, for example, for Telecosang, we have a PPA for 21 years, right? The structure typically lasts 40, 50 years easily with proper maintenance. And that, again, if you were to share Anthony Loke's views, right, for us to make maintenance a culture in Malaysia, right? We never have that culture of maintaining, you know, we never have the budget for that, right? So that's what we want to do. That's why we have a very healthy O&M budget to make sure that the structure can last beyond 50 years. And what happens after PPA, we can continue to supply to the grid. Just like a panel, for example, in LSS programs, they are typically for 21 years, when the panel can actually last for 30 years with the manufacturer's warranty, right? So there is 9 years you can capitalize. And for solar, for hydro, there's another 20 odd years you can capitalize on. And so these are important things that we have to remember, you know, we have to instill to make sure that our assets are long lasting. And yeah.
So when it comes to technology you mentioned, I think it's worth to highlight that we have signed a collaboration agreement with Voigt from Germany. Voigt is, they've been around for more than 100 years. They are the biggest turbine or hydro turbine manufacturer in the world. So they are coming on board into Jentayu as a substantial shareholder very soon. We are ironing out the last detail, as well as technical partner. So the way we look at it at this juncture, I think technology-wise, we'll be relying more on voice rather than developing our own.
Yeah. You know, they've had 100 years of learning curve, right? We're not about to reinvent the wheel and spend too much, you know. So yeah, we have to be very tactful where our core competencies are and try to benefit from that.
Do you think Malaysia can reach our net zero goals by 2050? 27 years.
I mean, there's definitely a push. You know, it's a combination of many factors. Again, if you look at hydro, we've only become very relevant maybe 5-6 years ago, right? As interest rates came down suddenly, and financing people are becoming more receptive to longer term funding, and it makes the whole project work. If you look at 20 years ago, they can only be undertaken by TNB or the government, right? So yeah, it depends on a whole lot of factors. If the funding climate is permissible, if technology advances reach a certain level, the costs go down, then I think a lot of it can happen.
The aspiration is there. I can see in the government, current government as well as the previous, the aspiration to achieve the target is there. We at Jentayu will do whatever we can to support the aspiration. Whether or not we can achieve that, it depends on many factors.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Mr. Riaz and Mr. Jeffrey. This is a
Thank you
fantastic.
very much.
I think we're just about out of time. Thank you to our guests, Mr. Ong from Sunview and Mr. Jeffrey and Mr. Riaz from Jentayu Sustainables. Fantastic discussion, just a bit too quick. I wish we had more time, maybe after hours one day. Thank you all to the Mercury customers and brokers who have joined, and the staff, obviously. And happy to see a lot of new names as well. Reach out to us on any of our social media or corporate website for more information on how to become a customer, or just if you want to see what's coming up in the pipeline. Have a great rest of the week. Have a great Lunar New Year, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.